Few people realize that Yogananda had a deep love of Christ. He realized the brightening, too. In one of his writings, he talks about the beautiful changes that occur from the Advent to Christmas season. But most of all, he was always fascinated by Christ. And he developed his own system approach, yoga, Kriya Yoga, as those people who've been over there know and who have studied. His first book was called Autobiography of a Yogi, where he talked about his own life. But he went far beyond that book and was intrigued and, I don't like the word fascinated, he was compelled, really, to study the life of Christ. He knew the Gospels upside down and out. Everything that Christ had said, everything that Christ had taught, Yogananda meditated on his words and his teachings and his life, his living spirit, for years. He lived from 1893 to 1952. But his last book, or one of his last books, came out in 2004. It's called The Second Coming of Christ. The Resurrection of Christ Within You. And he came to realize very deeply that the real Spirit of Christ must come alive in each person. Each person must experience Christ, not just have a set of teachings or beliefs, but must experience Christ in some way so that the Lord opens in his being and he is one with Christ, you might say, in the way he lives and in everything that he does, everything that he thinks and feels. So as he was trying to write this great book, The Resurrection of Christ Within You, the Second Coming of Christ, he was meditating. And I have his words here because they're so profound at this time of Advent to Christmas. My singular desire to discern rightly the true meaning of Christ's words and life was given wondrous confirmation one night during a period when I was working on these interpretations. He was writing the book, The Second Coming, The Resurrection of Christ Within You. It was in the Hermitage at Encinitas, and some of us have seen that building. I was sitting in my darkened room in meditation, praying deeply from my soul, when suddenly the blackness gave way to a celestial opal blue effulgence. A celestial opal blue effulgence. The entire room was like an opal flame. In that light, the radiant form of the blessed Lord Christ appeared to me. His face was divine. His appearance was of a young man in his 20s with a sparse beard and mustache. His long dark hair, parted in the middle, had a golden light about it. His feet were not touching the floor. His eyes were the most beautiful, the most loving eyes I have ever seen. The whole universe I saw glistening in those eyes. They were infinitely changing, and with each transition of expression, I intuitively understood the wisdom and love conveyed. In his glorious eyes, I felt the power that upholds and commands the myriad worlds. As he gazed down at me, a holy grail appeared at his mouth. It descended to my lips and touched them, and then went up again to Christ. After a few moments of rapt, silent communion, he said to me, "Thou dost drink of the same cup of which I drink." At that I bowed down. I was joyous beyond dreams to receive the testimony of his blessings, of his living presence. His words meant that I was drinking of his wisdom through the holy grail of his perceptions which he had dropped into my consciousness, and he was pleased. This book, The Second Coming of Christ, the resurrection of Christ within you, is not my book. I am not the author. It is Christ. He is the author of this book.